How long you been fishing, Jarrett?
Well, Devin, my whole life.
How are they snapping, boys?
Like always.
They're not.
Could be the bait.
I'll take a beer.
I'll have a brat.
Can you believe it? Fish just ain't biting today.
Oh, boys.
Who's that?
Don't look.
Best day ever.
I love fishing. Oh, yeah. I love fishing. Yeah.
So you woke up this morning, told me get out quick. But the sleeping's no good on the rumble strip. Left Dallas in Georgia, I left Belize in May. 5 in the morning, I'll be leaving Miami for Louisiana. In my clouds, eating weed, eating road, eating 91 sea breeze, 2,000 feet uphill, riding the highway down. It tears me up, this rolling cold. The stick green will see you where the river turns under the road. And a mean old man in blue, gotta scratch the edge. Oh, don't you dare get caught on the door by that son of a bitch. In the clouds, eating weed, eating road, eating 91 sea breeze, 6,000 feet uphill, right on the highway down. She don't take much for oil, there's diesel on my sock, but you never see that mean old sea breeze smoking on the rocks. Ran this rambling day down the California coast, but it's down in Death Valley where she did her live in the most. In the clouds, eating weed, eating road, eating 91 sea breeze, 5,000 feet uphill, riding the highway down. Don't get no warning for that cactus prick, and the sleeping's still no good on the rumble strip. In the clouds, eating weed, eating road, eating 91 sea breeze, 12,000 feet uphill, riding the highway down, riding the highway down, riding the highway down. chin or drink with the wife. Drink an appropriate amount of Athens Light. Drink it for peace or drink it to fight. Drink an appropriate amount of Athens Light. Go to bed at 8 or party all night. Drink an appropriate amount of Athens Light. Athens Light, Athens Light. Drink an appropriate amount of Athens Light. Enjoy Athens Light at Pizza on the Farm every Friday and Saturday. Stony Acres Brewing, Athens, Wisconsin. Drink an appropriate amount of Athens Light.
Good day, good Sunday. Happy Super Bowl Sunday. This is the pre-Super Bowl party here on the Midwest Music Hour, live from the living room. Special session today with Travis Burrow, all the way from Merrill, Wisconsin. Stoked to have him here, and wow, it's already been a Sunday. Let's just say that the biscuits and gravy at the Wolf's Den were amazing, and we had a great time up there in Mercer. Thanks so much for supporting live music all season long. And the unofficial beer sponsor of today's show is the Widowmaker from the Sawmill Brewing Company. Because if I keep working so hard, it'll be like, that's how my wife will feel, like she's a widow. I'm never home. Okay, all joking aside. Welcome to the living room, Travis. I'm so stoked to have you here, and I want to thank you for joining me today. And, man, it's been... wow, just great to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. You've been well, let's say you wear many hats. Is that can I say that?
Maybe. I mean, I usually wear.
How many hats do you? You just have one hat. No, I think it's fair to say that when you're involved in music or any sort of discipline, there are many facets to it, right? And so it's not just playing banjo, or writing a song. It becomes other things as well, like audio engineering or stage managing or hosting an open mic night at the Sawmill Brewing Company on Thursday nights. You want to give like a vast or just a little brief overview of kind of like what some of those hats are that you wear? I mean, I may have made mention of just a few of them, but for people that are unaware.
Well, I guess with the open mic, I've been doing that for 6 years now, and that's always an adventure, or whatever you want to say, whether it's doing sound for people I've never heard before, or a band that shows up, or when there's few people that show up to have to play and I guess try to sing to eat the time up. But then managing the people and getting everybody signed up, and when people want to play together and getting that all dialed in so everyone can keep going and they're still making a good product. It's kind of neat to get that chance to do that for everybody. And then the people that have been coming there over the past 6 years, just kind of neat to see them start their own music journey then from there, where they haven't played for anybody other than that open mic. And then they, a lot of times I do a bunch of nudging to try to get them to play their own show, and I'll run sound for them and help them get everything set up to do that. And then they just kind of go on their own with it. I know it's kind of neat to have that experience. And then on the other side of it, just being the concert goer and live music seer, and kind of a neat community we have for music in this area, all of central Wisconsin and to the east and west and north and south. Just a fun overall thing.
Yeah, do you think that maybe that's increased over time? Does it? I feel as though, did you grow up in Merrill?
I did.
So you grew up in Merrill.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you were growing up, did you think, man, Merrill's like the hotbed of music?
Not necessarily, I guess.
Was it on your radar in a way, or like were you interested in music from an early age?
Yeah, and I guess Merrill was pretty prestigious with their marching band. I mean, everyone knew of the Merrill marching band.
Oh yeah. Back
when I was growing up, and I mean, so there's strong link to music in town, which is, I don't know,
instilled at an early age, right?
Yeah.
Through the school system and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, and but right. I mean that. I don't know. I mean, I guess sometimes, like growing up, like even here in Rhinelander, there's people that play music, and that's I don't know. I guess you don't always necessarily think about it as, it's happening here. You might know somebody who plays guitar, plays whatever. But yeah, it's just that mentality of like, oh, an open mic night, I'm gonna have to go to like the city for that. but it's also kind of true because I mean, well, um, were there open mic nights across town when the one at the Sawmill got started? Uh, Maybe in the past, maybe, right?
Yeah.
At various times.
Yeah, I'm
perhaps?
not real sure. I guess I don't know of. There was really nothing else going on.
Like no jam sessions, like at places that were like so like here, like what in Saint Germain on Sundays they're like jamming at Legends, you know, and a couple other places there's like the Jailhouse Bar that has a jam and you know various, you know, instead of open mic format, more like just you know collective.
Yeah.
Trade off leading a song and stuff like that. But were you aware of any of that sort of stuff going on back then?
I guess not really at that time. At the start of when I started open mic or just growing up, I really wasn't. You know, it was certain bar bands that you had that played all the time in different areas, but otherwise, no. It seemed odd to think about even when starting the open mic of where to start it or where to do it at, and I wanted to do it in Merrill, and then just to find a place to do it at or whatever, but I don't. It's just been it's been cool to see just how it did start up and how it kind of revamped, or I don't know if you want to say revamped or started up the live music thing of to see, you know, the people in town that play guitar or that can sing, and you don't really realize it till they come to one place and they take turns doing it, and you have every genre you can think of, you know, being performed, and it kind of, I don't know, reawakened what I thought of what there was for music in Merrill, as compared to Wassa or Point or Rhineland or whatever, where's those jam sessions and open mics where you know there's the people out there and you can see them, whereas you couldn't really see them in Merrill, in my opinion, until they had a place for it. And it feels like the town is kind of taking off more with this next group of people that are out there doing it now. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's so imperative to have a place where people can gather, you know, as a community, and you know, and foster that with one another. You know, in an open mic setting, everybody can come and share what they're working on. You know, you got everything from beginners to folks that have been playing a long time. You know, you've got some nights. You get a guy who's doing it full time show up. Other times it's like maybe their first time ever playing in public. You know, so you run the whole gamut of that, right? The experiential like differences between the players that show up, but yeah, I mean that's kind of like that's your cornerstone of your music community, and if you don't have something like that going on, it's just so much harder to stay grounded in that and, you know, connected within your community. It feels like stuff's going on, and even, you know, like you're networking. You know, we were just talking a little bit ago about Billy Bronstead, right? And they were doing a gig up in Tomahawk, and you were running sound for that event for them, walking an engineer, you know, which is pretty awesome. That, you know, well, Billy's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
You're pretty awesome. It's great that you all are friends. You know, did that meeting happen through, you know, the open mic night? Well, that's neither here nor there, but the fact that you guys can like communicate and show up and have that, like, it's nice to have a sound engineer for a gig, let's be honest, you know. And the fact that he could call you up and you'd be available and you're like, yeah, well, I'll show up, I'll do that, you know, and hang out and make the night a little bit better by, you know, putting you to work, so to speak, you know. That's one of those things that continues to get fostered when you have a, you know, opportunity to do so, right?
Yeah, and I guess that probably was all due to networking. You're talking about having a cool place to do an open mic at, and with the Sawmill, and it's not just the musicians there. I mean, we have the people that come just to watch every single week. It's crazy the support that they give, to where if somebody's nervous about something, that they just feel so welcomed by that. So the crowd, we had some people that attend open mic a lot of times. They had Billy come out and play a show out for, a private party. And I was there and wound up with the mixer in my hand when Bryce was playing. And then when Billy got up there, I kind of got the mixer again. And so I kind of got a little bit of, doing that for them. And between that and the fact that Chad has come to our open mics plenty of times. And
The Chad O'Kennedy?
The Chad O'Kennedy,
Chad
yeah.
O'Kennedy, yeah.
And being from Tomahawk, as well as Billy, I've done sound for Chad and his bands before in the past, and it was Chad and Billy actually that night up in Tomahawk. So, although I don't think that Chad knew that I was gonna be running sound, but it's still, I mean, just how it all works together, just how everybody kind of knows somebody, and if you don't know that person, you know somebody that does know them, and it's just neat to have that connection. I don't know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because when you go to do a show, like I said, it's not just maybe even that part of it. It's like, geez, when I started playing, it was sort of unfathomable to think there was going to be a trend of like multi-show, multi-band bills, if you will. I mean, I'm coming from like a school of, hey, it's one band and they're playing like 9 to bar time, and anything different is like somewhere else, right? You go to a big city and you get like 5 bands on a bill throughout the night. Everybody does like 35, 45 minutes. Maybe your headliner does a little bit longer than that, but you've got such a wider variety of music, or at least a variety of groups, in one night, as opposed to just one group carrying, that entire performance or whatever. And that's where it's just kind of cool to see that. I mean, it was like when Ghost of Swinetown got going with Phil Wickham and, Mike Hill and Bob Wygant and stuff here in Rhinelander. That was kind of a moment that changed that a little bit, because Phil would call up, his buddies from Duluth or, St. What's that town over there? Like Rochester or something like that. St. Cloud, I think, he thought it would be cool to bring these other bands to town and like do shows with them, and you're the anchor group with your friends in town, and then you get to introduce your friends to like this cool band or whatever. And so seeing that more and more, I mean, that's just another way that it continues to like grow that, and offer that opportunity, because the networking and stuff, and the Sawmill now as well as a great host of live music as well, not just the open mic night, but they'll host bands for their various events, and maybe on a Saturday night or something like that, whenever. And that's really cool to see too, because what a cool venue, right?
Yeah.
You guys get to be outside in a tent like during the summertime, right? And they got like food trucks that show up, and
Yep. Throughout the summer, it's outside, and the building is just beautiful, and inside is beautiful. But I enjoyed being out in that tent. It's kind of, you're out in the country, it feels like, and you're just inside town with the giant pine trees around, and just, it's a beautiful space where there's just plenty of room for anybody out there.
That must be like, that's the line, right? If you're of like farm country and woods, right?
Well, you hit the river first.
Okay.
But yeah, you get over the river, then there's a couple more houses, and then it's just open again.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful setting there for sure.
Yeah, talking about the groups, just how lucky we are with music to see whatever individual players or people from a band jump and play together or start up a brand new thing. It just, how the scene has changed of music. It's not you're trying to protect what you're doing so you can make sure you can get called back again in a couple weeks to play there again. It's the more people you can bring and throw on stage together and collaborate with people, it brings the fans in closer, and I don't know, it's just a fun thing.
Yeah, how many different people do you say you've probably had the opportunity to play with, like throughout the, 6 years, 5 years?
From doing open mic? Oh man, I don't...
Do you get to, because you get to kind of jam with maybe people every night there?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that for everybody, is if you want to play together, just... there's be an aux or an XLR if they're ready to plug in and go. The last couple years when we started getting heavy into outside, after the COVID stuff, we kind of started back up outside, and it's turned into this awesome place to join genres of music together and have people playing together that wouldn't have met if it hadn't been for that open mic night. You know, if you have a metal drummer and a country and rock and roll bass player and someone who listens to folk music or, you know, bluegrass playing guitar with, and it's just a crazy mixture of people you can put together that they get to play together, and then they realize, oh, I did it my way, they did it their way, and together it still works. And it's cool seeing those people get to do that, and have that experience. I don't know. It's
Absolutely, yeah.
And if you're not comfortable playing, I'm not super comfortable singing, obviously, but
Obviously, what do you? Oh, you just gave it away. Oh,
well,
people
not-
are sitting there in suspense.
If
They
it
had
wasn't
no idea.
obvious, there we
Now
go.
they know. Now they know.
But for me to be afforded that opportunity to play along with somebody that's gonna do the singing part, and I can just sit and, you know, go do my own thing along with them. It's really neat to get to do that. I'm very thankful for that, and the people that allow me to do that. And it's fun. It's fun.
It's got to be it's just a rewarding experience, you know, for you and for the people that get to participate in that, and you know, hopefully for the business as well, right? I mean, they got great beer, and they, you know, got a great spot there, and all that sort of stuff. But no, it's all those different factors come together and really make it a special and cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to that, like we talked about Billy a little bit, we talked about the Chad O'Kennedy. There are a number of bands that are here, you know, in central, northern Wisconsin, and you know, I mean the Midwest in general. If you want to talk about like the roots scene and stuff like that, Americana and whatnot. Who are some of your favorite groups to go catch at like a festival situation, or if you could bring, you know, if like, and I don't know if you can or whatever, but like say you're gonna throw a concert or whatever, like who's gonna headline, who's gonna come and play for you at your rock show or your folk show?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
You got like a
I'd have them Coolie Boys there. They're the reason why I bought a banjo. I asked Bull one night after they played a show at the intermission what I should buy, and he told me, and I bought it the next day. But
nice.
then if we're going just central Wisconsin, Dig Deep is going to be there. Another. It's so cool getting to meet these bands. I mean, between buying this and how I mic this thing up, I asked Oscar on how to do that, and he just told me to do it this way. Oh yeah, and Russ from Horseshoes does that too. You know, it's kind of neat. So I'd have Horseshoes there, and you'd have who else? You got to have Joe in there.
Joe Huber.
Yeah. I don't know if it's if you'd count as I don't know if we're looking for like band names more or less that I've seen, I guess headline stuff, but I'd have Bryce there. That kid blows me away with how fiery he's coming, how talented he is.
Wow, man. Yeah, he's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Such a cool thing to see him grow. I mean, all you guys really, and that's one of the cool things about music, and you know, the progression of it. Everybody kind of on their own pace at their own time, but once you get bit by the bug, so as to say, and it really becomes part of who you are, that's when things like life gets a little bit more magical, you know.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sweet. You know, obviously it's not always like sunshine and rainbows or whatever, but yeah, I mean, you can definitely, I don't know, just enjoy that.
Yeah, and it's so hard to pick down. I mean, if I could pick performers that I want, I mean, if I could see you and Tuck play together again, that was always so much fun with that. But I'd have you guys there.
Oh no, that'd be sweet.
That's still one of my favorite open mic nights. Is when you showed up the one time, or not the one time, but you know what I mean. When you showed up there, and
thank you.
my buddy Bill was telling me, he's like, "Oh, there's a musician here. You got to see." Well, I'm trying to mess with the sound because it was really loud in there that night, and all of a sudden I walk over and it's like, "Huh, how's it going, Scott?" And I got to play a song with you. That's one of my like highlight open mics, and that was a real early one.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, it's so cool. You know, like I said, it was just it's a really special thing to be part of, you know, and have like an opportunity, you know. I mean, it's still like work a lot on Thursday nights even, you know, and so it's like, it's still on my list, you know, just get back there one of these nights, you know.
Yeah, no pressure.
Just so fun, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good lineup.
We have so much
They-
talent around here, and I
It's
figured there would be a question like this, and it's like, oh yeah, I get my list together here, and I there's so many people left out. I mean,
Well, because I mean, you know, new groups end up forming, and you know, did I hear a little rumor? The little birdie was tweeting about. I mean, just like jam sessions that you get to be part of, and then other people that you end up getting to play with. I mean, are you starting a kind of a group of your own with some other guys? Maybe looking to, I don't know. You got like a steady jam session, or you're working up the ability to go do some shows as an ensemble?
not really yet. I know.
Okay. The back porch jams, right? The porch jams.
Yeah.
The porch jam band, right? That's
Yeah. Well, if we need band names that we came up with at open mic, there's plenty of them out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how appropriate
Put 'em on
some
the
are.
chalkboard,
I mean,
right?
yeah. But I had gotten my friend Riley and Chris coming to open mic very frequently, and just I told them, I said, you guys, why don't you guys do a show together? You know, if you don't have enough for a whole set to do a whole show, I said, get together and do a set, just split it between you guys. You can use my stuff, I'll run sound for you, and just people that deserve to do something like that, you know. And I got to play along with them a little bit there too, and we kind of always do that every open mic where we kind of play together, and someone will jump on the cajon or harp or banjo or spoons, or someone with bass, or you know, whatever. You kind of just can do that. So but that was the last thing that I was part of, was when those two played a show out there.
Wicked. What's the strangest, speaking of instruments and whatnot, what's the strangest instrument somebody's brought to open mic that
The
you've seen?
strangest,
Or is it?
I guess the melodica is kind of a strange
well.
one. Yeah, Kartika brought that, and she's amazing at any instrument she plays. But that's probably the strangest, but pretty cool.
Wicked. Yeah, we got
So,
one.
Yeah.
I remember I walked into a music store and Charlie Strong was in there, and he had like it's the Yamaha's version of that, so they call it a pianica.
Okay.
And he was like, "This is a weird instrument. Scott Kirby, you're gonna like it. Like, you're gonna buy this. It's weird enough. It's
Yeah.
like a hippy dippy thing or something, you know."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yes, well, you got a good price on it. I will buy that." And yeah, fun instrument.
Nice. Yeah. Everybody was just paying attention, playing Sweet Caroline, you know, that in there, and just everybody just loved it. You know, she's so good too. So.
Yeah, it's well, then they got the Jimmy Fallon, you know, when him and the Roots are doing like songs on like toy instruments or kid instruments or whatever. Like, I think that's one of the things that gets featured like within that ensemble, you know, shakers and tambourines, and somebody's got a melodica or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Hey, do you want to? You feel like picking a tune?
Yeah, I could. I guess. Yeah.
What do you want to? What would you like to share with me?
I probably should have changed the tuning right away on this, and I could try to do that one that I sing on
Sure.
here quick, so I could.
Yeah, well, and two. Well, I don't. Some people are multi. I never like talking and tuning.
Oh yeah, I think I can. I can do one or the other, or both. It'll just be back and forth and in spurts, which ones I'm paying attention to more. I should have had this done right off the bat, but I didn't know what I was gonna start with, so. Okay, I suppose I'll try to just sing one right off the bat, so.
Oh yeah, nice.
Whenever.
Yeah, what's the name of this tune?
So this is Ruben's Train.
Oh, Ruben's Train. Far out.
Bryce told me to learn this one, and it's in D tuning, and I kind of started messing with it, and I really took a liking to this song, and Just kind of lets the banjo do its thing on here. So.
Awesome.
Oh, Reuben made a train, he put it on a track. He run it to the Lord knows where. Oh Lordy me, oh Lordy my, he run it to the Lord knows where. Should have been in town when Reuben's train went down. You could hear that whistle blow 100 miles. Oh Lordy me, oh Lordy my, you could hear that whistle blow 100 miles. Spent last night in jail, no money to post bail. Lord, how it sleeted and it snowed. Oh Lordy me, oh Lordy my, oh how it sleeted and it snowed. Been to the east, I've been to the west. I'm going where that chilly wind don't blow. Oh Lordy me, oh Lordy my, I'm going where that chilly wind don't blow. That train that I ride's 100 coaches long. I'm 900 miles from my home. Oh Lordy me, oh Lordy my, I'm 900 miles from my home. Got myself a blade, laid Reuben in the shade. I'm starting me a graveyard of my own. Oh Lordy me, oh Lordy my, I'm starting me a graveyard of my own. Train, he put it on a track. He run it to the Lord knows where. Oh Lordy me, oh Lordy my, he run it to the Lord knows where.
Reuben's train, baby. That's awesome. Man, that sounded so good. Yeah.
I get so nervous on
There's
this
something
stuff.
about banjo on a Sunday afternoon, man, live in the living room. That's so cool. I love it. Wow. Yeah, man. That's so cool. So you started picking banjo just within like the last 10 years, right? We're talking like, but
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned like Oscar from Dig Deep being a guy that you've talked to about miking up your instrument there. What, you got like a 57 and a towel in there?
Just in a sock, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think I cleaned this thing before I put it in there. The sock. I
Oh,
think
it's a dirty sock.
And it's just been in there ever since.
It's a dirty banjo sock. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, but that's sort of, I mean, we're talking about kind of some of the first banjo pickers. What would they use? Like, these are some of the first applications of trying to amplify these acoustic instruments.
Mm-hmm.
People would do that, on their upright basses as well and whatnot. I think Mark Kripke was talking about that one day. Mark Wayne down there in Tomahawk. Do you know Mark Wayne?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's got a studio down there. He plays pedal steel and bass and guitar and all sorts of stuff. But kicking around Florida right now, the bum. But yeah, so so there's anyway. But you also mentioned that Bo from them Cooley Boys was an early inspiration in terms of what. Now, when he told you to, did he just affirm that you should play banjo, or you were talking about like the specific brand or kind of banjo?
No, I told him, I said, I'm going to learn how to play banjo. What banjo do I get as a beginner?
Okay, sure.
And without a second thought, he said, get a Gold Tone CC50. Said,
Nice.
That's one of my favorite banjos. I'll still use that thing on recordings even.
Way
so
cool. Awesome.
That's what I went with.
Yeah. And we talked just a little bit earlier about kind of what would you say, customizing your banjo.
Yeah, I want to get more of a frailing banjo, and I want to scoop this one, but I'm again nervous of wrecking something. I only have this as my main banjo, so I'd like to just order a custom Pisgah banjo from Asheville, North Carolina. Do that, but
Oh, sure, and just keep that one how it is, and
yeah, just keep it as it is instead of
and
risking breaking something.
yeah, because this affects your style, your technique of banjo picking,
Mhm.
which is the claw hammer technique.
Yep.
Okay. It was the trivia question for people online. They were all like, claw hammer, say claw hammer. No. All right, and you win fruitcake, and you win. No, but so there are different types of banjo picking. What had you set on claw hammer technique, or was it just kind of something that other people, you'd seen other people do it, or it just fit like you, or have you tried other techniques as well?
Yeah, I guess when I started, I kind of started with 3-finger. I wanted to learn it that way.
The roll.
Yeah, just Scruggs, basic Scruggs style. And then, while watching Bull play, he kind of has his own hybrid, I don't know what you'd want to call it, of kind of claw hammery, kind of finger picking,
Otherworldly.
kind of rock star stuff off the microphone stand, sliding off
Yeah.
the banjo. But I was kind of going along that way, and then I started getting more and more into folk music, and I was jamming with my buddy Max, and he said, you got to learn claw hammer. So I went and started messing with claw hammer, and I don't even know where I have a set of finger picks now. It's been a minute since
wow.
I've played with those on.
Wow.
So I've been mainly doing it that way.
So, people always talk about when you're learning an instrument, it hurts, right? Does the claw hammer technique, does that create, like, painful, like, bone spurs in people if you do it wrong? Or is, like, you get weird calluses on it? Talk about that. Like, it's because it's a tough process, right?
Yeah.
People, we all want to, if you're learning something, whatever, there's, like, that process that you go through,
Mm-hmm.
and part of like instruments can sometimes just be like there's a physical pain associated with it. You've got to bleed for your, you poke your finger on a string or something when you're changing it, and now you're bleeding, and it's on your banjo head, and it looks like Wilson from Castaway or something, it's smudgy or whatever. But yeah, did you experience sort of like that whole growing process of ouch, this hurts, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I played guitar, so it wasn't so much the fret hand. I guess learning to use which finger. I've been using my index finger a long time, and now instead I've kind of switched over to my middle finger to, I don't know, it kind of softens softens the tone up a little bit, and you if you get a hangnail or something like that, it's definitely gonna hurt. But the biggest pain is probably the between the ears where the pain sits in, where you're trying to operate this hand and your frailing hand at the same time, and when do you rest on the fifth string, or when you pull off, or when you double drop thumb, and it's I don't know, that's the hardest thing. Is that's why with singing I always get so nervous too, is just to do something with your left hand, something with your right hand, remember the words, which I'm still working on doing and try to do it all together at once. The people like Joe, I don't know how they do it, where they're playing guitar and they're playing harp and they're playing a suitcase with both feet, how they can do that stuff just blows my mind.
So many different places to go, engaging all of this.
Yeah, and different rhythm or whatever you want to say, on a different beat, and that's kind of where the difficulty comes with the claw hammer.
You got to get into that rhythm, that cadence of it, right? And
yeah.
It's bouncing along.
Yep. And even talking with very, very, very talented guitar players, I know somebody that, Paul, he had gotten a fretless banjo, and he was working on claw hammer, and he just said, just to get that technique down, and this guy can just play guitar like no other, and here he's struggling, or not trying to call people out on it, but like Hunter Dukes, give that kid, you could put shoestrings on a Kleenex box and you could make a song with it. And when we were doing banjo stuff, about how he's kind of play a claw hammer, and he's like, that's one thing that I haven't really focused on at all yet, and you watch, he's going all over the place and just playing crazy stuff, or at a festival he'll be playing with the bands at a campfire. Like, this kid can do it all. I don't know, it's neat to see,
yeah,
how that works. I don't know.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, everybody's well, and is he kind of in the scrug technique?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Right. Well, and he can play the banjo anyway. I forgot. I think was he playing banjo and Latin music too? Like, it was neat. It sounded cool. I mean, just to hear the banjo in a completely different genre.
Yeah. Oh, wicked cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who are do you listen to a lot of the sort of like the traditional bluegrass artists and stuff like that when you're, because like Reuben's Train,
yeah.
that's a traditional tune,
yeah,
with kind of like spiritual but bluegrassy, and bluegrass has roots in like gospel and traditional music, what do they call that, I forget. I don't know. There's a word for it. There's a secular, non-secular, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, do you have a whole collection of those traditional bluegrass artists that you kind of like cling to for developing your technique when you're applying that claw hammer, or are you aware of it? You listen to it, but you're still like listening to modern music and bands that are relevant to you now. Not to say that they're irrelevant, I mean, the masters of the create the friggin' technique, it's they'll never be obsolete, let's be clear, but but yeah, what do you got to say about that?
It's kind of, there's the resurgence of folk music in Americana, and there is a lot of bands returning to a clawhammer style. I mean, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, Russ plays clawhammer, and there's just Oscar plays clawhammer, on a bunch of stuff, and there is a lot of it out there. You listen to old things, or you listen to old songs that you like, and then you go down the rabbit hole that is YouTube, and you listen to all the different versions by other people, and you can really catch on to other people's versions, like the song "Cluck Old Hen." There's so many ways that song is done, and I guess my absolute favorite is Kendall Winter's version of it. She is such a talented musician, but just her clawhammer playing, that I can't emulate, or I don't even know where to start on copying that. So I pick a different version that I can kind of feel a little bit more, or whatever. So it's basically just find the songs that you like and go from there. My favorite banjo song would be Darling Cora. And I think it pretty much is Horseshoes and Hand Grenades that got me onto that song. Just the dig a hole in the metal part. And so I looked into that song and listened to the way more traditional sense of it, or versions of it. And then you start listening to, okay, this is how it was originally played, and you hear it played on a gourd banjo, and you hear people playing it all these different ways. And I finally found a version that I liked. It's in triple C tuning. It's dark and eerie. It's just a good banjo song.
Wicked. Triple C tuning. So what you got, like a C G C G C?
Yeah, G C G C C.
Start on a G. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm not a banjo player.
Well, no, that was right. But yeah, it's super varied. You have two notes on the entire thing. But yeah, it just gives it that. I like the murder ballads and things like that. Old time banjo music.
Yeah. Yeah, it's way cool.
Yeah.
Would you feel like you have a version of that?
Yeah.
That you play?
The one that I kind of try to emulate, I guess. And actually, it's the version I like playing is from Brainjo.
Brainjo?
Yeah, it's brainjo.net. It's like a banjo lesson place. This guy is so good at clawhammer, and he does a lot of good lessons. So if you're looking to play clawhammer, that's not a bad spot to start, I don't think.
Very cool. Yeah, and how lucky are we to have access to stuff like that when we're learning in this day and age? It's not like it used to be where, you'd have to chase down the one guy who played banjo in the 100-mile radius or whatever it was, try to get some lessons from him.
Or even just trying to learn it by ear, what we have, talking to my friend Carl Jackson, he's talking about, how he used to wear records out just from going to listening to the same part over and over again so you can learn it. Well, now you can pause it, you can slow it down, you can change the pitch, you can do whatever, technology.
Yeah, it's way cool.
As long as it connects, then it's...
Yeah, Carl Jackson, he's awesome, man. He's got a song about having chickens.
That's my favorite song by Carl. I always ask to play. I try not to ask every single time I see him, but I make sure I do ask if he can play it for me, and he usually does.
I would hope that would be a staple of like wing night at Bill's Bar,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool moment talking about country singers who don't have chickens. They can't really be country singers.
Yeah, that's why I just love it. It's so relevant to today's music.
I just snorted.
Yeah. That's okay.
Okay.
But,
hell yeah.
Okay, you want me to jump into this here?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm not gonna sing this one.
Oh, it will be an instrumental number.
Yeah. I'm just so nervous for this, and I don't know what is going on.
It's all good.
For the last 2 days, I've been playing these things.
No, it's we all, that's kind of the striking thing about it is it doesn't, it doesn't matter like if you're just starting or like, I mean, I miss words and stuff all the time, well, not all the time, but I mean, it's a shared experience. Everybody screws up every now and then. It's no big deal.
But it's like, that's my hand is just shaking. I just played this stuff for the last 2 days. That's all I've been doing.
It was sounding great. It was sounding awesome. We'll do like we'll take a collective breath.
Apparently, they have enough caffeine.
I got some coffee for you if you care for some. love it. See, and you know, I mean, what do people always say? They always say like, "Hey, like I don't know the song. I don't know if you're gonna mess up. Like you just messed up. I don't know." Maybe it's a little more difficult to hide behind like these traditional like bluegrass melodies and banjo tunes and stuff like that, right? Because there's that metric that you're holding up against. But yeah, man, I was like, there's what you didn't mess anything up. What are you talking about? But it's all good, man. It's still.
Yeah, it's. I don't.
Somebody says like, well, my vocal coach was like, you know, when you think like you're done, you can't think about it.
Yeah.
Just like no thought.
Yeah,
And
I
it's like-
usually have no thought in my mind, which is great. I mean, but I just there's like some cameras.
We got these
and
cameras here and the monitors.
My
and
mom
the
is
lights.
watching right now. On
Your mom
YouTube,
says you
like-
sound fantastic and it was awesome. And she loves you.
Yeah, I just overthink it, and there it went.
Yeah, it's well, and it's tough too because like in the, you know in my situation, I'm like, well, I'm thinking about my technique and my placement and
Yeah.
you know and the words and the time and you know what that person's ordering and you know what's that smell, you know, or whatever, all those you know all those different things that are going on when you're playing.
Yeah.
It's you're you know you're never alone in that, you know, when it comes down to anything really. So it's don't beat yourself up too hard about it.
I'm trying not to. I'm definitely trying. I've never like had something that I don't know. When you asked me to be on here, it blew my mind. I've never played my own show. I've never done something musically like this. I mean, I know it's not just music. We're talking about music in general too, but I don't know. It's an odd thing for me to kind of be the person in the spotlight or whatever you want to say.
Well, that's incredibly humble of you, man. But you know, it's I appreciate like what you're doing, and you're so involved in music in what I see you doing, and it's everybody's got a story to tell as well. You know, you've got an incredible one, and your music is great, and you know, I'm sitting here getting like chills.
Oh, thank you.
You know, so.
I appreciate that. You're one of my music role models. I'm just like
Stop it.
people role models. They don't.
Oh, man. Okay, quit it now. You stop it. You stop it.
It makes me think back to COVID. I mean, honestly, your streams and Horseshoe streams and them Coolie Boys streams and you know, seeing all these people do these streams during one of the worst times of a lot of people's lives, having to be by themselves. I mean, having those streams really made a difference. I know in my life, of, you know, to have music taken away from you completely, where you can't go out and do anything, and then getting the interaction. I mean, when you're super interactive on your live streams of that, getting to request songs and getting to get you to play Wayfaring Stranger and actually getting to buy a copy of it on a personalized vinyl.
Yeah,
You know,
that was
just-
special. That was reciprocated special stuff, man. I always be grateful for your support during that time, you know, because just like the other side of that, I mean, we talked a little bit about like EMPs and you know crazy tech wars and whatnot. You know, like we're so dependent on technology, and what if it comes crashing down? Then what? You know, what do we do? Blah blah blah. But like in that time, that was why we're here right now in a way, right? This wasn't possible before that all happened. And the reason why this is happening is because this is the only way we're gonna like connect with each other and have music to share. And if we're gonna do it, like you know, at least have some type of you know, benchmark quality standard production, whatever. I think somebody actually was like, you know, made a suggestion, right? And they're like, well, you know, you're Scott Kirby, you should like upgrade your camera, you know, or whatever. And I'm like, well, you're right, you know, it's like a, you know, it's like $300 camera, you know, and it's got a built-in like audio mixer, and if you can just figure it out how to connect it to your computer and you know and all that sort of stuff, but that meant so much, you know, to hear that things, you know, resonated you know, particularly like through that, like that least of all vinyl stuff going on, you know, and that not only was it cool to have support, you know, to know that you were out there and you appreciated what I was doing, like that made it more worthwhile, you know, for me to know that it meant something to somebody else. And then, you know, and yeah, those special requests. I mean, I got to do a version of that with Brett Winters at the barn, which was really cool too. And I got to explore that song in and of itself. You know, like you talk about everybody's different version of it and whatnot.
Yeah.
I kind of got to create my own, which got me in a creative process back to, you know, like using my little RC, the BR 1180, you know, from Boss Roland or whatever, like the digital portable 8-track, you know. I used that in the barn and set that up and, you know, made those records and wow, yeah, I mean, I would be like so lost without the ability to do music, you know, in any capacity, whether it's, you know, performing live or, you know, writing, creating, recording, whatever it might be. And, you know, talk about like renewed sense of purpose and opportunity for that. So, you know, in a hopefully non-superficial way, it just meant a lot to me, you know, to have that experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that music just keeps them going, and when all that music was gone, I mean, it was nice to be able to have that personal connection back with the musicians you'd go out and see, and you'd get to hear and joke around with and get your requests, you know, before you go home. And it was nice being able to get that personal touch back into the music and to
for
be able
sure.
to talk. I mean,
yeah, and you know, I think about like the Tuck Pence nights too, you know.
yeah.
Here's a guy who's been playing music basically, you know, 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week for forever, you know, and you know, and all the people that he plays for, like, you know, throughout the state, throughout the region, throughout the world, right? But it was just incredible because everybody would be like, oh, you know, we're going to the Tuck show. Like, it's not just like, you know, it's not just the bar in Merrill and whoever's in Merrill or whoever travels there, like, gets to see him. You know, however, it is like, didn't matter where you were. You could watch them, and it's like, you'd never fit all these people in one place, would you?
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd have to be an arena, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that show was insane on its own. Everybody was there. Everybody. And we didn't have the arena, but we still had everybody there. That's so cool.
Yeah, and right, you know, for him, he had a lot of health issues going on, right, that were surfacing for him, and he even, you know, prior to the pandemic, he was taking time off and wasn't really able to go out and be amongst people, so it was like that much more time and separation or isolation from doing what he was doing, and it was really rewarding to be able to, you know, to help him out in that way, and I don't know, it was like one of the other driving forces behind it, you know.
Yeah.
It's like be able to do that.
And that's so cool. I mean, how many Tuck heads you had tuning in to see that, to see Tuck, and it's kind of neat to see what we were talking about, you know, EMPs and stuff, whatever. But seeing the old school to the new school, you say Tuck playing 5, 6, 7 nights a week, and being used to that contact, just, you know, all the time. Well, now we can't do it, but this video is a way you can do it, and it's kind of funny watching his first streams to when he's streaming now. It's not so much a weird thing anymore. You know, it's not odd to play to a little camera, you know, because you can see messages from other people and respond to them, and it's all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I'm sitting here in front of you right now. You know, we can have this conversation. We're, you know, 100 miles away. We can still have this conversation like I was sitting right there. It's very cool.
It's very incredible. Yeah. And oh man, yeah. There were a lot of great things about that, and I know I was talking to Bob Wygan about it, and it was sort of like, well, you know, here's something like, it's this streaming thing, it's, you know, the podcasting thing, like all these different various elements of the industry, if you will. It's not that it's a new thing. It's been around for a while. It's just, you know, when did you ever think that it would be an important element in the mix, you know,
or your only element of the mix,
or your
time
your only
being.
option, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was pretty wild, right? Because you couldn't even, you know, we're looking at are even like, okay, so like Channel 12 for a while did like artist performances on air, you know, and you know they still do nowadays or whatever. But there was an anchor there who was, and maybe that's kind of how it works, you know. Somebody's got to be a producer or whatever on the program or whatever. But they were doing, you know, music with various musicians, performances and interviews and stuff in the studio, and that was really cool. But you know, through pandemic and whatever, like, you know, they're not open to anybody, you know, like WXPR, for instance, you know, it's like nobody could go in there who wasn't, you know, like an employee for a while, and then, you know, whatever, and so how are you gonna, you know, you can't go on the, you know, you can't go do an interview then or whatever. I mean, maybe on the phone or something like that, but yeah, kind of all those other avenues that would sort of do this, you know, even those were shut off, you know, just like, you know, in person at bars and clubs and festivals and stuff like that too. So that's where it kind of, you know, what can you do on your own or whatever, but also, I don't know, you know, like you host a house concert or whatever, you have like 10 people over or something like that, you know. So like the barn, you know, that was born out, you know, kind of helped make that whole thing happen, really. It was always sort of a thought of ours that, and we did, I think, a couple things prior to where it was a house show or whatnot, you know, set up in there. But it certainly lit a little bit of a proverbial fire underneath that whole, you know, thing to really get it going a little bit more. There, you know, there's still work to do out there, but yeah, it's cool. Trying to make the best out of it, really, I guess, and you know, grateful to have the opportunity to have you here today, because it's sort of like a full circle thing in a way, you know, if you think about it. I mean, now that we're just talking about that whole experience, I mean, I mean, how, because that's what this was supposed to be for anyways, you know, helping an artist, you know, have an opportunity to be heard, you know, or to share their story, share their music, you know, have a little conversation and, you know, get it put together and stuff like that. And, you know, or, you know, perhaps, you know, some people just, you know, just the opportunity in a way, you know, maybe you're not used to the spotlight.
Yeah.
Why? You know, you should have a big one, you know, why not? You know, I mean, you don't go looking for it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just not who you are or whatnot. Cool. That's awesome. You know, like you're humble and you know, everybody's kind of got their own like self-preservation, ego, and all that sort of stuff. But you know, there are a lot of everybody's got a TikTok, right? And it's all like, look at me, right? And it's like also full circle with the whole like digital thing, right? Yeah. Look at us. What? You know, hi, hi mom, right? But I don't know. It's a guy could probably think too much about all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm happy that you were able to come over here today, and it's really cool to have you in the living room, and I like your story, man. I like what you're about, and I like what you're doing, and I like your music, and I wish that you would play me another song. We are probably getting to that time where you've got a league thing going on. You got a football game later.
Yeah.
And we had some technical things. I'm gonna have to call the people at Road or figure out whatever customer support on that thing and get that going. But a little bit later going today than what we wanted to. But this has been fantastic anyway. I mean, I love just hanging out and chatting, and we still maybe have a little bit more time. But yeah, if you feel like getting into another song, I love that.
Yeah, sure.
I was also kind of thinking about that 3C tuning, and I've got it's like an open C tuning on guitar, C, G, C, G, C, E, or whatever at the top, you know, and that's where I don't know, was that bore out of like old blues music, slide guitar and stuff like that? Just those drone tones where you get a lot of that double stuff. I find it very interesting to write songs in that tuning, just because of the accessibility and
Yeah. Well, and it
forces you to think about it a little bit differently than like the standard tuning or whatever as well.
and on the banjo, it starts to make more sense with. I mean, if you think of frailing as the original way to play the banjo, it makes sense the different tunings because you're not playing up past the fifth fret, So to get those string combinations in there that are easy one finger hammer-ons and pull-offs and stuff, instead of having to all over up the neck, I don't know. I've been really messing around with a lot more tunings lately, as you should with claw hammer, and it really does open up what you can play, So it's got to be something rooted along the lines of that, of what you were just saying before, why it would be, if it was blues or whatever, because you're talking slide stuff is you're barring essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that was cool. Like you just move the whole chord,
Yeah.
Oh, here's another one. Oh. C sharp.
That's one of the nice things about banjos. Anyone can play a G chord on a standard tuning banjo.
Oh, so well, and you mentioned some of our local heroes, if you will, the Bows and the Oscars and the Hunters of the world and stuff like that. Are there other like banjo players that like you have a favorite banjo player out there?
Oh.
Or are those guys kind of like that's where it's at for you?
I mean, we really have a lot of good ones.
There's so many,
here.
right?
I mean, if you figuring in Joe and Dale in there, just watching those two play is so much fun. But I don't really know if I have like a set. I just like there's so many different ways to play the banjo, and each one is different. So you can't. I don't really have like a favorite other than, like I say, Kendall from the Lowest Pair. Probably she's probably my favorite banjo player. It's so beautiful how she makes the claw hammer sound. I don't know. I really like it. So
as a in all seriousness, I thought you were going to say Kermit the Frog. Yeah, I mean that's he's probably the biggest celebrity banjo player that ever existed, right? The Rainbow Connection, right?
Yeah, and every single time I'd play a band, I'd pick up the banjo or whatever. My buddy Dano would always say that right away, right off the bat. So you can play Rainbow Connection? That's all I hear whenever I hear banjo. Kermit the Frog. Every single time.
Yeah.
I'm glad I can still hear him say it in my head too yet. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. What's the name of this tune?
Man, I want to do.
I'm
some
sure you got a whole
John Hartford.
Oh yeah.
But I don't really think I should try to sing at this point. I'm just so nervous.
Oh, wicked! No, don't be. Do it. Do it anyway.
Okay. How much time do I got?
All the time.
All the time?
Okay. Well, it's about 10 to 4.
Okay.
And you're.
Oh yeah, I should probably get motored here.
I shouldn't. I was like 10 after 4. No.
This would be Tall Buildings.
Tall Buildings. Yeah.
By John Hartford.
Jenny Vaneski does this one, and I think Tuck has done this one as well. I mean, it's Hartford tune, right? Beautiful. It's a beautiful song.
Someday, baby, when I am a man, others have taught me the best that they can. They'll sell me a suit and they'll cut off my hair and send me to work in tunnels. And it's goodbye to the sunshine and
It's John Hartford.
Whew.
That's a beautiful tune, man.
I like that song a lot. Just wish more young people would listen to the lyrics of that. Not me singing the lyrics, but just what's important in life. And music is something that seems more important than work to me.
Yeah, isn't that interesting too? What do you think about music and lyrics and the messages and sort of that dichotomy? I don't know. People are talking about all the time about, oh, it's a stage show or it's just a production and there's no, does it lack some realism or something like that if it's all about like the lights and the smoke and the mirrors and the pyrotechnics and blah blah blah, or is all that stuff cool? It's like a song like that John Hartford wrote. Can you really write another song like that? And was that from a time where people wrote differently? Nowadays when we talk about music that's being put out, okay, so it's not true for all of it, right? But maybe popular music that you hear on a radio or something like that. Does it lack a certain depth, or is it just different?
No, whatever you hear on the radio nowadays lacks all that depth. I mean, we're so lucky to have this music scene that we have. We get these songs written from the heart. I mean, you talk to these people and they'll tell you the story behind it of what the reason they wrote it for, or who this song is about, for them. And I guess that's just why I love this music scene around here. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be folk Americana. It can be rock music, whatever. Just getting to talk to these people. And back to the COVID thing, that really opened it up. Is just that everybody kind of is letting themselves out with this stuff. It's like, talking in circles. It feels like.
Oh well, it's like so the Rick Rubin thing. You familiar with Rick Rubin? Well, he was listening to a podcast or that he had done interview, and it got talking about like the reason why you create or write or whatever, and it's sort of like the dichotomy of like if you're creating for the purpose of solely creating, like that's why you ought to do it, or for whatever those and it's different if you're doing it purely for like commercial purposes or something like that. Like you have to have or there's just a difference. Maybe it's not bad or good, but it's just like comes from a different place.
So I guess that's just kind of hard to answer that question of if, can a song like that be written again. And I hear those songs. It was my Living in Lion by them Coolie Boys, one of my favorite songs, and Billy's Old Fool, like just those songs. I feel that same way when I listen to those songs as I do to John Hartford's.
Written from an honest place and share an experience in that way. And there's sometimes we get little glimpses too, like that. People seem to pop through. Like I mean, we talk about like the Sierra Farrells of the world. Like going from like busking on the street corner to like headlining the Opry, and coming up and just
Billy Strings,
Billy Strings,
exact same
right?
example.
Yeah,
the guy is still himself though. It feels like I haven't seen anything that makes me think otherwise that's still just Billy Strings.
Yeah, it's all very very cool. Because that's that's sometimes that's. Why do we have American Idol and The Voice and stuff like that, right? Because there's this dream or whatever, right? But there's also, like incredible tragedy, and it just exists, right? Some people never get where they wanted to go, and I don't know. I mean, it just kind of. Maybe it depends on what you manifest or, want or, or where you're at, right time, right place, that type of stuff. But, you look at a guy like, Tuck Pence and like, great songs, great career, all that sort of stuff. Like, is he where's, I don't know how to say it. Like, it's not, or anybody really. Are you going after it? Did you not get it? What the heck are we trying to say, Travis?
Well,
It's just like those people. Like, if that level of success, maybe not everybody wants it, right? And it's sort of like professional athletes in a way, right? Not everybody's gonna get on the NBA or be an NFL player, right? Not everybody's gonna like headline a tour and like blah 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 or whatever, this and that. But you could, you can.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. You can go play shows. You can tour the country. You can blah blah fill in the blank. Nothing's stopping that except inaction or
tall
whatever.
buildings.
Tall buildings. Right?
I mean, that's what it is. It's,
it's exactly that.
You make your happiness with it. If you're happy with what you're doing, then you found all the success that you needed. You don't need to be headlining a sold out stadium to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I wish more people would judge their worth on is that if they're happy doing what they're doing and they're making others happy, that's you've hit success. You've made it big right there.
Yeah, so many times because we are worried, so it seems that way, like we are judging ourselves based on how other people are judging us or whatever in that regard,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's I just want to like be able to make a living doing what I love, something else comes out of that, cool. If not, like, if you
Yeah.
no problem. Like a satisfied mind. There's a song, right? Daryl Scott covers that one, and it's an old tune that he dug up from one of the songbooks and whatnot. But who also did it? Was it? He did it on tour with who? Robert Plant, I think, the band of Joy. Okay. Is that right? Maybe I'm getting that story wrong, but yeah, I mean, what a lesson in that. The wealthiest man by far is the one with the satisfied mind. Like you got to be comfortable in your own skin. You're the only one who can dictate your happiness and how satisfied you are with your success or your life or whatever, right? But anyway, it's still nice to hear like people say, like, oh gosh, Tuck's song should be all over the radio. He should be like a millionaire, like blah 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 or whatever. But more money, more problems. Somebody said that, right? Goofy stuff. Well, man, thanks again for coming by today.
Yeah,
it's
great
hanging
much.
out in the living room, and thanks for sharing your songs. I don't know if you want to go out on one if you feel like that. It's about 4:00 right now. Maybe you jet without one. I don't know. But if I could squeeze one out of you, I will.
I'll just do an instrumental, a little John Hartford. It's not going to be anything fancy, but
okay.
Yeah, I can.
This is way cool. Thanks again for being here, and it's incredible. I hope to see you around a little bit more and hanging out at festivals or get down there to see you at an open mic sometime.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
If the band ever takes off the porch and gets out someplace else, maybe we'll have you at the barn sometime in the summer or whatnot.
Right.
That'd be a lot of fun to pick around a campfire and watch the stars. So, cool. Man.
Perfect.
So there's another Hartford tune.
Yeah, it's just messing around with steam-powered airplane.
Steam-powered airplane. I like it. Yeah, music is love. It's expression. It's comes from a sacred place, and it's really cool that you're doing it, man. Thanks for sharing it, and thanks for putting it out there, and thanks for helping other people put it out there too, by the things that you're doing. So thanks for being here live in the living room today. Appreciate it, man. Very, very cool. Travis Burrow, you can catch him, most Thursdays down at the Sawmill open mic night in Merrill, and stay tuned for other exciting appearances. Right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in today, live from the living room. Travis Burrow there, and be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you on the next episode, which I think is coming up sooner than we might expect it. But there's a couple of sessions in the works for April right now, so we might blow by February. What? We're in February? March? I don't know. What are we going to do in March? Hey, you can always let me know who you want me to interview, and I can always try to get in touch with them, or you can tell them about the Midwest Music Hour, and maybe somebody will come in and do this with me too. Whatever. I call people, they come in, whatever. What are you saying? I'm just saying that if you got a suggestion, you can put it in the thing, and I'll look at it, and maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. That's the best we can do. All right. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next program.